have our third speaker of the day, who is MarieMinder, our former president, and she is reworking a story that she's done before, which she continually improves upon. And this is a story called My Pop-Up, which is a story about her family, her grandfather in particular. And it's set in the early 1900s. The timing is 7 to 9 minutes. Please help me welcome MarieMinder.
Yay! I've been listening a lot to Sid Lieberman, and Sid Lieberman is a professional storyteller. He's a retired Chicago public school teacher, and he's been making a living in the last 20 years as a storyteller. He has told stories such as the story of Raoul Wallenberg, 45-minute stand-up, tell the story. He's sort of why I'm in storytelling today. And he's been doing a lot of work lately on the power of story. So the reason why I'm telling you this story today is it's a story that keeps coming back. As I do it once and I put it in my stored away, it keeps coming back. It's a story about a choice, a story about taking one step. My niece has been living with me for the last 6 years, taken off. She just graduated from San Diego State. This has been a big step in her life. For a young girl who never thought about any education, for her to actually graduate. We were all in tears that day. She's now she's having a hard time getting to that next step, finding employment, starting a career. So we were talking about choices and taking the one step. And again, this story came up to me. We were sitting on Pop-Up's back porch, my hand in his. We were on a glider. Do you remember gliders? Mm-hmm. Porch-like swings, but they don't just swing. They glide, slowly, back and forth, like let's enjoy the day type of space. I'm looking at Pop-Up, his hand in mine, and we're looking out over a sea of houses. Pop-Up lived on the top of Manayunk. Manayunk, I'll say that again. It's a neighborhood in Philadelphia named after the Lenape Indians. It means, in Lenape, where one goes to drink. And it's quite appropriate even today, because in 2010, there is a bar in every corner and a church in every other. So as we sit on top of this hill, looking down on this row of houses, one right after the other, leading towards the river. The river has row after row after row of old mills, factories. And when I look at Pop-Up, his hand in mine, I wonder what he's seeing. Is he seeing what I'm seeing? The little dusty, maybe the dusty houses, a little bit bedraggled? Or is he seeing what it was like in the early 1900s? Because people from around the world came to make their fortune in Philadelphia. People from Poland, Ireland, Scotland, Germany, all came together in this one neighborhood because Philadelphia in the early 1900s was the textile capital of the world. Those mills that lined the river were full of manufacturers of cloth, materials of all types. Stetson hats had a place there. Pop-Up himself, his hand in mine, was coarse and rough. He had made his life as a weaver. From the time he was 16, he didn't graduate from high school, he was working in the mill, Hollins and Aikens. That he made headliners. Here's another term for you, headliners. Not a headliner like this on the stars and legs, but headliners. That was the piece of cloth that stretched across the top of a Model T Ford to make it look attractive inside. Model T Ford, Pop-Up's first car. That's how he won the heart of my Nana, Marie Elizabeth. Now Bill, Pop-Up, knew Marie. He had seen her around, but they didn't talk or communicate because Marie was Irish, and he was German. They had separate churches, separate neighborhoods, and many times they didn't go from one neighborhood to the other. And this isn't because of fear, it was because of the way it was. One day, Pop-Up saw his chance. He was driving his Model T Ford up Sherrill's Lane. And who was that? But Marie and a friend coming home from school. Now Marie, she was a looker. Blue eyes, sparkling blue eyes, blonde curls. Pop-Up's like, this is great. He stops his car, leans over and starts rolling down the window and yells out to Marie, hey, can I give you a lift home? Marie was smiling, her face turned a little red. She looked at her school friend. She looked over to the right. She looked up and down. Is anybody going to see her? And at that moment, she made her decision. She said goodbye to her school friend, jumped onto the running board. That board, that step that lines the whole side of the car. Pop-Up had gone to open the door, but she wasn't getting into the car with a strange man. Jumped on the running board, grabbed the top, and said, yes, I'd like a ride home. She leaned in, said something to him, gave him his address. He looked at her, puzzled. Are you kidding? But then there was a smile of acknowledgement, and he said, fine. Put the car in reverse, back down the street to 3 houses, total of probably 30 feet. She said, thank you, waved, and went into the house. 30 feet, 1 step. That began a life was the beginning of a lifetime. 2 world wars, 3 or 4 worlds, 4 children, 2 surviving, 8 grandchildren. They moved from the bottom of the hill to the top of MarieMinder. And when I used to sit there with my grandfather, my hand in his, I think to myself, it's just 1 step, and you don't know where it goes. First of all, I have to discuss. Okay, I got my own. I'll take a deep breath.
All right, we've got 5 minutes on the clock. And Dory, would you like to start?
I remember you telling this story one previous time. I don't remember where it was. Maybe it was TLI or something. But until about a quarter of the way, I don't know at what point of the story, it sounded completely different. So I applaud you for taking that story and making it feel and sound so different. Thank you.
Duff?
Yeah. What I liked about the story was that your hand was with the Pop-Up's hand, and you consistently bring that, and you consistently build the story around it. So I really enjoyed that piece of it, because I could imagine the hands together, somebody's old hands and you as a young girl's hand. And one suggestion I have is, in terms of the stage thing, you open the window this way and you looked and talked that other way.
Oh, good point. Good.
And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Thank you.
But really enjoy the story.
Thank you.